Raised bed gardening is a great way to get growing. I particularly like the method called square foot gardening. Square foot gardens incorporate all of the plants that you would use in your home backyard vegetable garden, but in a raised bed box. This box is a 4x4 square that is then divided into 16 squares. And each vegetable has its specific spacing in the square. So an eggplant like this, you put 1 eggplant per square. But onions like this, you would put 9 onions per square. So this is a super efficient way to grow a lot of vegetables in a small space. We don't use the native soils here. We create our own soil blend made of peat moss, vermiculite, and manure or compost. That with a little bit of fertilizer really keeps the plants healthy and growing. Now these onions are about ready to harvest. So after we harvest them, we'll pull them out and replant a crop right afterwards. That keeps it very efficient and growing well. When you're choosing a site for your square foot gardens or your raised bed gardens, the criteria are the same as for a regular vegetable garden. You want to make sure you have plenty of sunshine, 6 to 8 hours a day, you have well-drained soil, and that you are close to a water source and close to the house. Many people ask me, well, how do you water these square foots? You don't have an overhead irrigation, you don't have drip irrigation. Square foot gardens and raised bed gardens are best watered by hand. The soil mixture that you use with the vermiculite and the peat moss does a great job of holding on to that water. So if you water by hand a few times a week, you can keep your garden up and growing. Square foot gardens or raised bed gardens can be used for year-round crops. Right now though, we've got our summer lovers in. We've got our hot weather plants in. We've got eggplant, the onions are just finishing up. We've got our okra coming on, our peppers, cucumbers, and behind me we also have the tomatoes that are just about ready to finish up. We're going to get those vines harvested and take a little break for August and then get ready for our fall crop and our winter crop. When you're working with children in the garden, it's a great idea to have age-appropriate tools. I like to have tools like small gloves that will fit on the little hands so they don't get too dirty. Let's go ahead and put those in there. And their own little trowel or claw can help so much too. And if you can put their name on it or buy something that's really brightly colored, like a bright green cloth, for when you send them out there to weed, then they're going to be a little bit more excited about weeding if they've got some colorful tools too. If you are going to be using large tools like a big shovel or a big rake, we always talk to the kids first about safety. We never want to lift that shovel over our knees. Show me what that looks like if you lift it over your knees. Right, no, so you can get hurt that way. So we try to keep it low. Very good. One of the most favorite things in the garden for children is watering. And I used to give kids this big watering bucket and tell them to go for it. But it's all heavy and loppy, so I usually give them their own watering can. In addition to raised bed gardens being so useful for children, they're also useful for folks who can't bend down as well as they used to. Raised bed gardens can be built up a couple of levels, so you can actually garden at this area here. I've even seen it where people put a couple of cinder blocks or raise the whole bed up so they can get their hands in there. For elderly people who have scaled down or sized down so they don't want to have a huge garden, raised beds work so well into their lives. They can be right outside of a back door or even on a balcony where they can grow their own fresh vegetables and herbs. Well, you've learned a little bit about raised bed gardening today and how it can fit into many different lifestyles. For the small backyard gardener, for use with children, and also for people who have some special needs. It's a great way to have vegetables close at hand, to grow your herbs there and have the most freshest, wholesome vegetables that you can in your own backyard.